Dear fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, a warm good evening to all. I welcome you all to attend the 45th meeting of Taj Toastmasters Club. I am Maya Krishna Gunasegaran, the Surgeon at Arms for today's meeting. Before we begin, let me request you all to repeat the Toastmaster oath along with me. For better listening, for better thinking, for better speaking, we learn by doing. Thank you. I request you all silence your mobile phone during the course of the meeting. Since we are an online meeting, members other than speakers, role players, meeting leaders are advised to mute their microphone during meeting. As a general rule of Toastmaster, encourage the speakers and the role players speak any topic except politics, religion, sex. The fantastic theme has been selected for today's meeting. It's never too late. Remember, as long as you are breathing, it's never too late to start a new beginning. I hope you will enjoy today's meeting as I would. Let me now hand over the control of the meeting to our presiding officer, a great Toastmaster, confident speaker, exemplary leader, our club president, Dr. Magesh Pillai. Stage is yours.
Good evening, dear Toastmasters, and thank you, Surgeon at Arms, for that introduction. I welcome you all to the 45th meeting of the program year 2020-2021. I'd like to wish you all a Ramadan Mubarak, and I really appreciate you for joining today's meeting. And we again continued our decision not to cancel any meetings this program year. And today we have a speakathon. It's really hard for the facilitators and the Vice President Education, Dr. Sundar, to arrange such a session because people are busy to get this many speakers. The amount of time they spend on following up with the people, with the members, and setting up such a great show, that's really commendable. And also the speakers who spend their time preparing, practicing. I can still see people already, they're setting up their screens. And thank you all for joining. I'll not extend my speech today because we have a lengthy session. Before we start, let's congratulate the last week winners. Best Speaker, Toastmaster Neetu Ratish. Best Evaluator, Toastmaster Roy Jose. Best Table Topic Speaker, Toastmaster Karunakaran. And so Best Meeting Leader, Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam. And Best of Big Three, Toastmaster Hassan Hussain. Dear Toastmasters, let's give them a big round of applause. Now let me hand over the lectern to our dynamic leader, our champion, the man behind this great meetings and arrangements. I don't think he needs an introduction. Let me welcome our Vice President Education, Toastmaster Dr. Sundar. Toastmaster Dr. Sundar, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for this generous introduction. Rather, you didn't say anything, but that itself speaks words. Thank you very much for that one. Fellow Toastmasters and all my dear friends, a warm good evening to you all. It's indeed with pleasure that I am wishing you this good evening as we are stepping into the holy month of Ramadan. A very good time we all have enjoyed in Saudi Arabia. And as we are stepping into today's meeting, let us all reiterate the theme of today's meeting. It's never too late to do anything. It's never too late to begin. It's never too late to stop giving up. It's never too late to continue what you want to do or do something new. So having said that, it's never too late for us to have a speakathon as good as this, because we have been pending a speakathon for almost 2 months. So we will be going, because we saw the enthusiasm from many speakers who wanted to deliver their project. So it was decided among the ExCom to go ahead with the speakathon. So before I move on to the rules of the speakathon, we have the word of the day. Since this is a speakathon, we have some role players who will not be included in the regular agenda. Instead of that, I'll be doing the role of the word master in introducing the word of the day to you. So the word for today is expedite. Actually, when I was searching for a suitable word, I thought, like, when I say the meeting is all about it's never too late, so I think I should take something that is the opposite of procrastinate. I know that we all do it at some point of time. Okay, we can do that tomorrow. Okay, that can be done next week. Yeah, I think it's not still time to do this thing, maybe after a month. But in life, I think that's wrong. If you want to do something, do it right there. So that's what expedite is all about. So the meaning of the word expedite, according to the dictionary, is make an action or process happen sooner or be accomplished more quickly. An example for the sentence is, he promised to expedite economic reforms. Another example could be, member X assured the club that he would expedite with the speech projects and achieve his levels. So let that member X be you. Expedite your speech projects, accomplish your levels, win laurels for yourself, and bring laurels to our club and fraternity. With that, we'll just go into the detailing of the speakathon. The speakathon basically is a collection of speeches according to the Toastmasters International Manual. Right now, we can do speakathons at the club area and the division levels. So we are doing it as a Taj Club speakathon. This is the 5th speakathon for this program year. Toastmaster Mayakrishnan, could you please mute yourself? Okay. So this will be the 5th speakathon episode for us in this program year. And here what we do is, like, no member is allowed to repeat a speech. Members who are speakers can also be evaluators and other role players. And there shall be no voting in a speakathon. So, but we will follow the same project guidelines and criteria. Only thing is that we will not be having a voting. And we have 8 speeches lined up today, starting from icebreakers to path completion speeches. That is the specialty of Taj Toastmasters Club. So I'm sure that you're going to enjoy today's meeting. So to conduct the first session, as our speakathon is divided into 2 sessions, we have an exuberant Toastmaster who joined us barely 6 months ago, but is on the verge of completing his first path. One of the fastest path completions that I have ever seen as a Toastmaster. It took me almost a year and a half to finish my first path. There are members who still take more than 2 years, 3 years to complete paths. But this gentleman, he finished it within 6 months. Apart from Toastmastering, he is an engineer who passed out from Hyderabad, Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, and his native place is Darbhanga in Bihar. He has been in Saudi Arabia for the last 8 years, working for Middle East Fiber Cable Company, blessed with a happy family, and it is none other than Toastmaster Hassan Hussain, who will be the facilitator for the first session. Toastmaster Hassan, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Toastmaster Dr. Sundar, for this detailed and encouraging introduction, I could say. I would like to fulfill what you actually have described about me, for sure. Thank you and good evening once again to all fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, to the tonight's meeting. I welcome you all to the Speakathon today, and I hope we are going to witness an energetic and lucrative session, inshallah. So in this session, we have a lineup of 4 excellent speakers. Before I move towards the session, I would like to introduce the timer. He is very fantastic, energetic leader. He is our area champion, and as the president said, he don't need any introduction. He is well introduced in the club, and he is none other than our Vice President Education, Toastmaster Dr. Sundar. He will be the timer of this session. So I would like to request him to provide the timing report once called upon at the end of the session. With this, let us move towards our first session. In this segment, our first speaker is Toastmaster Jabir Ali, our new Toastmaster. And before I call him on the stage, I would like to listen from his evaluator about the objective of his project. Let me call Toastmaster Manas to explain the objective of the project of Toastmaster Jabir Ali.
Thank you, Mr. Facilitator. The purpose of this speech is for the member to introduce himself and to expedite on the basic structure of a public speech. Back to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Manas, for introducing the objective of project of Toastmaster Jabir Ali. Our first speaker of today's Speakathon, and to introduce him, I would not like to take much time since we have to go for prayer as well, and I would like to save my time, and I give this opportunity to my speaker to introduce himself. I welcome Toastmaster Jabir Ali on the stage.
It's audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Great achievement is usually born of great sacrifice and is never the result of selfishness, said Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich. Yes, it is absolutely true. Today, the entire human race is living in happiness and peace, which was achieved by many great people who have sacrificed their lives without selfishness. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, warm good evening to all. I am going to share with you all the message behind my life through this icebreaker speech. I was born in 1976 in a small village at Theni district in the South Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Being the first child of my family, I have two younger brothers and two younger sisters. My mother was very worried about the future of her 5 children, as my father had no thought about his children's education or their future. My mother was very determined to keep us well educated and to create a better future. When I completed my 4th grade, my mother arranged for me and for my siblings to study from my grandfather's house after a lot of efforts. My grandfather was a humble Islamic scholar who was running his family with no income other than a small pension from government and some amount from his 2 sons. Nevertheless, my grandfather was great interest in showing our education and their future. And this was in spite of the struggles he faced to make ends with the educational expenses of us 5. He spent more than 18 years of his life in the last period of his life to create a better future for us. As a result, we have now 3 engineers and 1 doctor, 1 college lecturer in our family. I completed my engineering degree in 1999 After a lot of efforts, I came to Saudi Arabia in 2004 with the help of my brother. And I started my career as a planning engineer at Alfanar Electrical Systems. And I got married in 2010. And my wife's name is Fatima, who is working as a math teacher in government high school at Periyakulam. I am blessed with 2 daughters, Rubisana, who is studying in 5th grade, and Suhana Sabreen, studying in 2nd grade. I got 3 promotions at Alfanar so far. Currently, I am working as a supply chain manager. Today, myself and all my family members are very well because of God's grace and the sacrifice of my grandfather and my mother. So many people come and go in this world. So many people become famous through valiant efforts to make a name for themselves. Yet, how many of these people have really left lasting impressions or have really changed the history? Very few. When Gandhiji was violently thrown out of the train in South Africa, he didn't raise an arm in defense. Today, no one knows about the person who threw him out. But the whole world prizes as Gandhiji as the Mahatma. And the station where it happened is called the Mahatma Gandhi station. That is the spirit of the sacrifice. My life is my message, said Mahatma Gandhi. I see the word. I see these words in the sacrifice of my mother and my grandfather, who worked tirelessly to bring up me and my siblings. I can proudly say that we are the legacy of their sacrifices. Friends, the message I got from their sacrifices was, success is not the destination in life, but the journey itself. Let us live our lives as a sacrifice to world peace, as a sacrifice to our principles, as a sacrifice to God. Then and only then our lives will make a big change. Thank you. Back to Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jabir Ali, for this introductory speech. Please give him a big round of applause. Now, we'll move to our second speech, and to our second speaker tonight is Toastmaster Muhammad Shakir. Before I call him, I would like to invite his evaluator on the stage to explain the objective. And for that, it will be myself. The purpose of the speaker today is for the member to introduce himself or herself to the club and learn the basic structure of the public speech. With this, as a facilitator of this session, I would like to call our second speaker. And again, to introduce him, I might take 4 to 6 minutes. It might be not enough for me to introduce him. And for that, I would like to give this opportunity to him to introduce towards us. Please welcome Toastmaster Muhammad Shakir. Toastmaster Shakir, the stage is yours.
Someone once said, we all make choices, but at the end, our choices make us. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests. I was born in a beautiful city of Kerala called Malappuram in the year 1984. I was the youngest member in the family. I had a father, a mother, an elder brother, and an elder sister. I got all the advantage of being youngest in the family. I was in the 5th standard when I received my mark list, which changed my life forever. I was failed in the exam. I was getting afraid to show my paper to my parents. I was decided to run away from home. I only had 20 rupees in my pocket. The next day, I took the bus. I gave the 20 rupees to the bus conductor and said, Cheta, last stop. He took the entire money, but he didn't give any change. I asked him, Cheta, balance? He said, last stop, 20 rupees. I was confused. I get down the last stop, but I don't have even a single penny left in my pocket. I don't know what to do. I start walking without knowing what to do next. After some time, I began to feel my stomach crying loud out. Feed me something, feed me something. I don't have any money to buy anything. I was looking around the nearby bakery shop, looking at the egg puff which my father used to bring to me. I thought if I would get back to home, sitting in the dining table and order to my mom, food please. Everything was so good at home. Why did I choose this way? It was too late, but I decided to correct my mistake. I don't have money to go back in a bus, but I start walking. 3 hours later, once I reached my home, I saw a huge crowd in front of my home. My father and mother was sitting down on the door with the hands on the top, was crying out. When I saw them, I thought my father would come rushing with a cane stick, but instead he came and gave me a hug. He didn't ask even a single question. I knew that I take a wrong decision, and he knew that I understood my mistake. That's the reason I came back. Dear Toastmasters, we all make mistakes in our life, but understanding and take lesson of it, it's the most important thing. Years passed, I done my graduation and the post-graduation diploma in hotel and tourism management. I got my first job in Leela Kempinski group of hotels. Later, I got an opportunity to come Saudi Arabia, join Dunkin' Donuts. After 6 years with 2 promotions, now I am handling the field training entire Saudi Arabia. Life teach me a lot of lesson, but I consider that little incident of my life as the biggest learning. Now I feel proud to share this story to my family, me and my wife, Rahina Bibi. We celebrate our successful 10th wedding anniversary this year. And my lovely daughter, Risha, she was 9-year-old now. Now, I am a role model child of my house. My father says he feels proud about me, which makes me more proud. Came to Saudi Arabia, very far from home. The smile and happinesses of my family gives me immense pleasure to work even more harder and make my family happier. Dear Toastmasters, it's the choices which makes you who you are. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Evening.
Thank you, Toastmaster Muhammad Shakir, for this wonderful introductory speech. Now, I would like to move for the third speaker. Before I call him, let us hear from his evaluator, Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh, about the project objective. Toastmaster Mahesh, kindly explain the objective of the speech of Dr. Arunachalam.
Good evening, dear Toastmasters. My speaker will be delivering his level 2, project 2. And the purpose of this speech is for the member to learn about different communication styles and identify his or her primary style. The purpose of this speech is for the member to share the impact of his or her style on others. The speech title, How to be a Great Communicator. Speech length, 5 to 7 minutes. Back to you, facilitator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh, for this explanation of the objective of the speech by Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam. Now, the speaker tonight is from the southernmost state of India, Tamil Nadu. He has been working as an associate professor in King Saud University, and he is working in research field of multidisciplinary sciences. He's working here for almost 9 years, living in Riyadh. Fellow Toastmaster, please welcome our third speaker, Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam, on the stage. Over to you.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, maybe pin timer, maybe pin it.
You will be spotlighted.
You're spotlighted with the timer.
Yeah, okay. The art of communication is the language of leadership, said James Keams. A good communicator must know what to speak, how to speak, when to speak, and most importantly, when to stop. Fellow Toastmaster, wonderful guest, good evening to all. What is your communication style? You have a particular style of communicating? Of course. But do you know what it is, including strength and weaknesses, and how it is compared to the style of others? Over my research, I have found that there are 5 fundamental communication styles. 5 styles of communications have been categorized into assertive, aggressive, passive-aggressive, submissive, and manipulative. When communication occurs, It typically happens in one of three ways. The first, visual, verbal, and non-verbal communications. The communicators are often exchanging informations, which means that they appear to be receiving or giving it. Example, my father is always communicating very clearly to his workers. His communication is very kindly, which means the submersive communication styles. One day, my father told his worker Pandian, Pandian, today we have cultivate 1 acre of paddy cultivation too, because the weather is very cloudy and rainy is likely to today. Then Pandian and his co-worker completed the job on the same day. After 1 week, my elder brother said that same person, Pandian, you should do gut entire banana leaf today itself. However, he is not done and he will not return to work the next day because my brother communicated aggressive style. As a consequence, you see the difference of for the same individual, but the manner in which communications work carried out. The next, for my mentor, one of my greatest communicators and a role model for me. His communication is very clear and precise, demonstrating his clarity of thought during his entire speech. I will give you an example. During my L1P2 speech preparations, I spoke to my mentor about my speech concept. And once I finished, immediately he listened to my whole concept and described me using the novel web communication such as eye contact and facial expression and body language. Since seeing what he had to say, I had a better understanding communication styles from him. Communication styles are different approaches to expressing our thought, feelings, and opinions. As a leader, it's important to remember communication is multifaceted and including verbal and non-verbal communications. My communications with my scholar is always assertive styles, particularly if I need to convey informations to them. I provide the information in clear, concise, and friendly manner. Finally, I give some more ideas about how we can expedite our communications. I make 7 C's communications based on this. That is, the first C, the clear. Make the goal your message clear to your receiver. Second C, concise. Your message should be a brief and to the point. The third C, concrete. Ensure your message has important details and proof. The fourth C, correct. Make sure what you are writing and saying to accurate. The fifth C, coherent. Check your points or the relevant. And sixth C, complete. Your message is completely understandable manner and there is a clear call to action. The seventh C, courteous. Ensure that your communications is friendly, open, and honesty. Friends, it is never too late So think about the 7 C's. Every time you need to communicate something, and you will always know or delivering the clearest message possible. And you could be a great communicator. Back to Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam. Now, to move forward, let me call the evaluator of the fourth speaker to listen the objective of the project to be given by our next speaker, DTM Gururajan. Toastmaster Dr. Sundar, to evaluate the speech of Toastmaster DTM Gururajan, we have DTM Sridhar. DTM Sridhar, can you please explain the project?
I'm sorry. Sorry for the interruption. Toastmaster Hassan, DTM Sridhar has excused, so I will be the one to evaluate DTM Gururajan's speech. I will read out the objectives now. Fellow Toastmasters and all my dear friends, good evening once again. So my speaker, DTM Gururajan, who is going to deliver his level 2 project from the presentation mastery path. And the project is about delivering effective body language. The objective of this project is for the member to deliver a speech with awareness of intentional and unintentional body language, as well as to learn, practice, and refine how he uses non-verbal communication when delivering a speech. Speech length is 5 to 7 minutes. Back to you, Toastmaster Hassan.
In the timer,
you will be spotlighted. The timer.
Okay.
Sorry for the technical glitch. Thank you, Toastmaster Dr. Sundar, for explaining the objective of our speaker. Our speaker, he is a well-experienced Toastmaster, a distinguished Toastmaster, past president of Taj Toastmasters Club, and currently the club coach of Mobile Never Surrender Club. Dear fellow Toastmaster, please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Gururajan on the stage. DTM Gururajan, the stage is yours.
am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir.
Am I visible? Okay. Who has not failed even once in life? Dear Toastmasters, can you raise your hand if you have not failed even once? What is the solution when you are facing a very, very difficult situations and challenging situations? You have to focus and then move forward. Moving forward requires determination, perseverance, and courage. Also, a strong mind with strong thoughts. On the other hand, it's not necessary to figure out all the requirements to move forward. It's very easy. Just take a next step forward. I want to take you to my college days. I joined in National Cadet Corps. It's a sort of army training. Dear Toastmasters, don't judge me with my present body profiles that I was not suitable for army training. You have to believe me that at that time, I was lean and handsome. I had a friend named Shankar who was fattier than the fattiest Toastmasters available in Riyadh. He was like my bodyguard, and I'm sure he will guard me because he could take any number of punches from my enemies. In NCC, we were trained in marching, and also in shooting. Our major announced the marathon race. We have run for 15 kilometers totally, and the message came, all should participate. Shankar was hesitant because what is very easy for us during that time was difficult for him, because moving is very difficult for him because of his weight. 50 people were participating in the marathon race. Myself and Shankar were in the front. For the first 5 minutes, I was there in the front. Then I saw slowly, one by one, people were overtaking me. I felt I was tired due to the lack of practice. All the people who had overtaken me, they vanished from my eyesight. I couldn't see anybody. There was a total silence. Then I stopped running, started walking, enjoying the nature, because nobody was watching me. But I had a rare sensation that somebody was looking at me from behind. I looked back, and then I saw my friend Shankar was waving hands and he was running towards me. I was compelled to run because otherwise he would complain this to the major. But I had the immense satisfaction that I was better than one person in the marathon race. So I took all the energy and courage. I completed my marathon race. By the time I reached there, nobody was bothered. And students were preparing for the prize distribution. I went and sat down and started relaxing. Then I heard the clapping sound. Then I saw students were clapping since Shankar was approaching us. When he arrived, all went and appreciated him. He was all on smiling face. I really envied him because all the beautiful students, girl students, they surrounded him and they were shaking hands with him and they were talking with smile what to do. Though I came before him, I didn't get that opportunity. Dear Toastmasters, I learned from Shankar on that day only one thing. He kept moving forward without the fear of failure. Fear of failure really pulls us down. It's very easy to take a next step. You have to do only two things. Never look at the past for your failures. Never look at the future for the consequences. If you avoid both of them, then your mind is free. You can take the next step very easily. You don't have to bother about anything. If you move forward, you will be rewarded. If you stop, then the essence of life will be lost. The nature teaches so many things to us. Does this earth stop because some earthquake happened somewhere? Does the sun stop for any reason? The nature keeps moving forward, and it's moving forward for a better tomorrow. Dear Toastmasters, when you are facing difficult situations, challenging situations, and a situation where negative thoughts are pulling you down, you don't have to do only one thing. Just relax. Don't think about the past failures or future consequences. Just take the one step. Move forward. Move forward with confidence. Move forward without the fear of failure. Move forward for a better tomorrow, dear Toastmasters. Even if you have negative thoughts, again, ask once more. Who has not failed even once in his life? Over to the contestant master.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Gururajan, for that exciting speech. Fellow Toastmasters and my dear friends, I will be taking over as the facilitator for the remaining part of the session, as Toastmaster Hassan has excused himself for the prayers. And to help us with the timing of the subsequent evaluation speeches, Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam will be our timer henceforth. So as usual, for the evaluation and other speeches, we will be spotlighting the speaker as well as the timer. So don't worry about pinning or spotlighting it for yourself. Okay, having heard 4 exciting speeches, it is now time to go into the exciting aspect of evaluation, which is actually the boon that we always get in Toastmasters. You deliver and you get the feedback hot immediately. So to evaluate the first speech of today's session number 1, which was the icebreaker speech of Toastmaster Jabir Ali, we have a very energetic Toastmaster who joined us a couple of years ago. And similar to what I was telling about our first facilitator, he was also very fast in the path of completing pathways and accomplishing projects. And he is running towards his goal, which is to become a distinguished Toastmaster and an accredited speaker. He has already completed 2 paths and on the verge of completing his 3rd path. Please put your hands together to welcome Toastmaster Manaz Al-Bukhari to evaluate the first speech of Toastmaster Jabir Ali. Toastmaster Manaz, the stage is yours. Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam, you will be taking up as the timer, right?
Okay, okay, Doctor. I will follow this.
Thank you, Toastmaster Dr. Sundar.
Just hold on. Let me just pin you and the timer before you can start. Timer ready?
Yeah, I am ready.
You may start, please.
The easiest job for an evaluator is always to evaluate an icebreaker speech. Tell me why? Because you will get a lot of recommendations for an icebreaker speech for sure. But today's speech was totally exceptional. The speaker, as soon as he started, took me to the Bharat restaurant, where I thought he was representing an audience in front. He was using his hand gestures in such a manner that he was speaking as if it was in a dais. I totally forgot the fact that I was on a virtual platform. Your eye contacts were so sharp and very clear with your hand gestures. I felt I was in a room with you while you speak. You started off your speech saying that there is a message towards the end of the speech, and that attracted the complete audience, I'm sure. And I was looking eagerly to understand what exactly is the message from your journey of your life. Your energy level, the way you groomed yourself, the way you talked about your family, and with absolutely no fillers in your speech, tells a lot about your speaking quality. You are already an amazing speaker. Another very key important factor of your entire icebreaking speech was that it carried a message which would always inspire and motivate others. The message of the lifetime, that success is not a destination, it's a journey. And it was very well clear from the entire length of your speech. The incident of Mahatma Gandhi and how you correlated it to your family was superb. Every speech always has some point of a time where it needs a slight improvement or a slight improvisation. As a speaker, your speech was amazing.
Where you could have improved is by adding some conversations in between so that you can practice voice modulations. That is between your grandfather and you, incident in your lifetime, which could be completed with a conversation, which would give more punch to your entire speech. There is no life without humor. What is a fun element in your speech? If you were to look in that direction, a fun element of your life, a humor in your entire speech would have added so much of charm in your entire speech. With these two recommendations, I would salute you for a great speech with an awesome message, amazing energy level. If you were to a bit concentrate on the voice modulations and adding humor in your speech would have gone to the next level. Thank you, and back to you, facilitator of the day.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Manas, for that encouraging evaluation. So to evaluate the second speech of Toastmaster Muhammad Shakir, we have Toastmaster Hassan, but since Toastmaster Hassan has taken his prayer break, we'll be moving over to the next evaluation and we'll be asking him to evaluate or present his evaluation speech later. So to evaluate the third speaker for today's meeting, Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam, we have yet another enthusiastic Toastmaster. Rather, I would call he is an exuberant leader. In fact, I see him as a role model. Although we joined together in Toastmasters, I see him as a role model because everything that he does, he sets an example. He is currently our president, and professionally, he is a trainer, and he shows his aspects of training to whomsoever it is, be it his proteges, his fellow Toastmasters, or club members. Please put your hands together to welcome Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh Pillai to evaluate Dr. Arunachalam's speech. Toastmaster Mahesh, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Facilitator, and good evening, dear Toastmasters, and special good evening to my speaker, Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam. What a great speech, Dr. Arunachalam. It shows that you are a real communicator. You started the speech with a quote and grabbed the audience attention. You explained the 5 fundamental styles of speeches, and you talk about different types of communication, which is visual, verbal, and non-verbal. And the beauty of your speech is that you added a personal story. You shared the experience of how your father communicated with his worker and the same type of communication your elder brother did, and how effective was your father's communication and why your brother's communication did not work out. Because that example itself made us to understand how the communication style has to be. And that is one of the beauty of your speech. And you also shared other examples. You share a lot of examples which make the people interested and make them understand that you shared your communication with his mentor or your mentor's communication with you. And you explained his communication styles, and also you explained about the 7 C's of communication. It shows that you were so confident. You prepared your speech very well. Your body language and the gestures was outstanding. You did a great job in that. And your speech craft, you had a great opening, a body, and a conclusion. And there was a smooth transition from one part to the other. If I would like to give you some recommendation to take your speech to the next level, I'd like you to add some pauses in between so that the audience will get the message very clearly. The second thing is you are clasping the hands like this, and also you're using woven fingers while speaking. This shows that you are a bit anxious or a bit frustrated, or you may lose your confidence if you do that. So always the problem when you're speaking is your hands. You need to know how to control it. This shows that you're not confident, so this shows that you're a bit frustrated or a bit anxiety in your speech. So, and another recommendation I would like to give is a bit of voice modulation. Overall, you're a great speech with great examples to clarify your message. That was the beauty of your speech, but the 3 recommendations I gave you, the pauses in between, controlling your hand, and a bit of voice modulation, you will reach the next level. And with this, I can say that you have fulfilled the requirements of this project. Back to you, Mr. Facilitator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh, for that elevating evaluation. To evaluate the 4th speaker of the first session, which was the speech was delivered by distinguished Toastmaster Gururajan, it will be yet another simple evaluator, none other than yours truly. So now I will start my evaluation. I'll pin myself and the timer. Timer, you can start when I say and when I'm ready, okay?
Okay. Okay.
I'm ready. Who has not failed? What a question to ask in a forum where everybody aims to be a great communicator, a great speaker, and a leader. For all those Toastmasters who want to achieve, who want to win, thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Gururajan, for that uplifting speech, not just with that message, but also a speech that contained an encyclopedia worth of information of how to deliver speech with non-verbal attributes. Distinguished Toastmaster Gururajan started off his speech with a question, and through questions keeping on to the audience. This was the way how you engage your audience, asking questions. He was not bothered that it was a virtual platform where more or less he is not expecting an answer back. But at the same time, he was keeping on asking questions, which keeps us glued to what he was going to tell us next. And the second important aspect of his speech was the way he brought in the story. He opened with a question, then brought the story in the body of the speech, which was sparkling with humor. Everywhere you could see how he was engaging and attracting the audience attention by giving the humor. And it was not just about body language, it was also about using the non-verbal communication attributes, such as using a descriptive way of speaking. For example, he was talking about fattier than the fattiest. That itself shows how his friend Shankar could have been. And then he was comparing how his tummy of his friend Shankar was with that of a punching bag. And similarly, the way they were running slowly, he was very well portrayed when he said, like, we were in the front only for 5 minutes, and then we started seeing people going in front. So this is how you actually weave in a story with so much of descriptive language, so that it's as if everything is happening in front of us. And another aspect is pertaining to the main project itself, which was all about the body language. If you look at it, everywhere he just made up his body when he was talking about the fatness, and whenever he meant about going forward, he was just putting himself a step forward to show that moving forward is not bad. Don't fear the consequences. And every time he was talking about never look back in fear of your failures, he was always putting his hand back. These are excellent ways of portraying the body language. Distinguished Toastmaster Gururajan, the speech was indeed a gem. If I have to help you polish it a little bit more, I'm sure you have to require this one. Let me give you a few recommendations. Sometimes, if you look at it, when you are telling important words, this is one thing which we all miss out is our pronunciation, especially when you use the word marathon. You are telling marathon, okay? So it might convey a different meaning for the listener. So try to be focused on the pronunciation. And the second thing is, like, whenever you are mentioning about something like an action, say for example, running, I know that you are a bit tired today, but if you can actually do the running action, it would portray even more value to your speech. And the third thing is, like, anytime when you're talking about characters, anchor them on your stage. For example, if you show left side of your stage as Shankar, and every time you point out over there, we will look for your friend Mr. Shankar on that position of the stage. On the whole, it was really a gem of a speech. It was indeed an encyclopedia that was an information of knowledge and how to speak non-verbally and with body language to all of us. Thank you very much for that one. But this gem could be polished if you are determined enough to focus on your pronunciation, if you have the perseverance to do all actions that you can possibly do to attract the audience, and if you have the courage to anchor characters on the stage and keep them in that same position. Back to you, Mr. Facilitator. Thank you, Toastmaster Sundar, for that uplifting evaluation. I thank myself. So friends, now we come to the end of the first session of today's Speakathon. So we will be moving over to the second session. And I'm sorry, actually, we had an initial agenda that was planned up, but due to the announcement of the holy month of Ramadan, we have some role changes and swaps. But as per the current agenda, I will be the facilitator for the second session, and Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam will continue as the timer until Toastmaster Jaber Ali will be able to join us back from the prayer break. So we shall now move over to the second session. So here we have also a lineup of 4 interesting speeches. So if you look at it, in the first, we had the level 1 and level 2 speeches. So the second session is more about the advanced level. Like we have level 2, that is level 2 speakers who have completed a path. Then we have level 3, level 5, and path completion speeches. So the first speech for the second session, who will be the 5th speaker for today's meeting, would be delivered by a very enthusiastic Toastmaster. Before we move on to introducing the speaker, let us call upon the evaluator to evaluate, to deliver, to give out the, just give me a second, to read out the objectives. And the evaluator for the first speaker will be myself. Sorry for the delay. So this speech would be from the dynamic leadership path, a level 3 project 1 speech. And this speech project is about negotiating the best outcome. The purpose of this project for the speaker is to learn about different types of negotiation and the strategies that can be used while negotiating. The purpose of this speech is also for the speaker to share some aspect of a past or future negotiation in his or her life. Speech time is 5 to 7 minutes. And back to the facilitator now. So now we have our 5th speaker and the first speaker for the second session. This is none other than our president, Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh Pillai. Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh, the stage is yours.
Negotiation is not a policy. It's a technique you use when it is your advantage, and something you don't use when it is not your advantage, said John Galt. Dear Toastmasters, facilitators, a very warm good evening. As a person who worked in senior management position and a person who handles the operations of our current company, I have extensive experience in negotiation with our clients and other organizations. And there are several negotiation styles. Each one is having its own advantage and disadvantages. And you need to choose the correct negotiation style which suits you and suits the situation. One of the style is competitive. So the negotiators who employ this style, they believe that there are clear winners and losers. This may come across very strategic, but it's very aggressive. And this style is very good when you need a decision very quickly or there are limited variables to an agreement. The second style, the accommodative style or accommodation style. See, you must be willing to take information and make concessions. This style is used when you consider to maintain the relationship, you go for this style of negotiation. And the third style, compromise. You meet your counterparts, and where all parties make concessions, it's a compromising style. And using this approach, keep the relations intact, but the result is often less than ideal for both the parties. The next style, collaborating. This style, is where the people use all their heads together or brainstorming to gather ideas or solutions that meet everyone's needs. This is one of the perfect styles for maintaining positive relationship, but the problem is it's time consuming. There are different types of outcomes from a negotiation. Win-win situation. Both sides are in a better position for negotiation. This always I do it when we have an agreement with another company. Sometimes some of the trainings we are not approved. So we have an agreement with another company to use their accreditation to deliver training. And we come to an agreement that both parties are in a win-win situation. And win-lose. This is where one party wins at others' expense. What happens is sometimes we lose some of the jobs, or say, because we don't want another provider to take over our client. They might have got a better quotation or something, or a cheaper price. So what we will do, even if we are lose the money, we don't give that training to other companies. We do it in a very low price. Another one is compromise. And sometimes it's very difficult. You need to have a compromise by taking information from both the parties or agreement with both the parties. And when to walk away, you should know that. I was doing a consultancy work or a negotiation for a consultancy contract for a company. Then they sent the requirement, and in the meeting they told that anything goes wrong, any accident happened. Now we are about to manage a project, health and safety project for a construction company, because they came from Europe and they wanted to do some work here. So they don't want to get a safety team here. So what they do? They hired us. We do that type of jobs as well. And one of the clauses they say, any accident happen, you will be responsible. We said no, because we cannot, nobody in the world can guarantee that no accident can happen, even if you do perfectly. We say everything you do, only 70% accidents can be stopped. So we said, I'm sorry, we are not interested. So we should know, you might get a big amount of money, but you might lose a lot of money in legal, or you might face legal problems. You should know when to move back. And there are different types of negotiation strategies you need to use. The initial stage, the initial 5 minutes is the most key. How you present. And I'm saying table topics has given me a lot of information or guidance on how to present my case in a very short period of time. The first 5 minutes is very important, because you can generate an interest in your client. And if your first 5 minutes, the client is interested in your topic or in your negotiation, they will continue for the rest of the time. And other one is, an open mind. You need to know what the client needs or what the other party needs. And based on that, if you talk, and so one of the things I tell during my negotiation, we are here to give you what you need, not what we have. So we make sure that we provide customized solutions for the client's problem, so they like it. The next one is the I statement. This I used when I was in my previous project. When I faced the problem with the client and consultant, I walked to the client, the consultant director's office, and I also say, I need your help. And I solved many problems, and he will give me ideas on how to proceed. So that was one of the strategies I used when I was in my previous company. Show appreciation. Some of the things during my introduction is like, example, the safety, say, I really appreciate your commitment of you and your company in health and safety. That really is something which I don't see in all companies. So it shows that appreciation, and it shows that, they get interested in your discussion. Time your discussion. Never call anybody or during the weekends or in the afternoon or in the evenings. Because if you call somebody in the weekends, they'll be having full pressure, or they'll be like, mind is fully occupied, they want to finish the thing. Or what we used to do in a Sunday morning or something, we used to call when the mind is free. Early morning is best time for negotiation. That's what I believe, and we do. Dear Toastmasters, Negotiation skills are very important in your personal and professional life. So practice it. Back to you, facilitate.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh, for that informative and great speech. Our next speaker for today would be delivering a project from level 5 of Dynamic Leadership Path. Before I introduce this speaker, may I call upon the evaluator for the second speaker of session 2, or our sixth speaker for today's Speakathon. Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh, are you ready? If you're ready, you could actually read out the objectives for the sixth speaker of today's Speakathon.
Give me a second. Good evening, Mr. Facilitator. My speaker will be delivering his level 3 project 2. The objective of this speech is for the member to apply skills needed to successfully lead in a volunteer or other organization. The purpose of this speech is for the member to share some aspects of his or her experience as a leader or impact of the 360-degree evaluation. Speech length, timer please note, it's 8 to 10 minutes. Back to you, Mr. Facilitator.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahesh. I'm sorry, I didn't even give you the breathing time. Before that, I called you for the evaluation objectives. So our second speaker is going to deliver his level 5 project 2. It was my mistake. Please excuse me for the mistake in the agenda. It is level 5 project 2 and leading in a volunteer organization. And this speaker lives up to what he is going to deliver today. He's a towering leader when it comes to Toastmasters fraternity here in District 79, Saudi Arabia. Probably one of the first few members who initiated forming clubs here, chartering areas, divisions, and even the District 79. He has been a Toastmasters since 2001 and has been our founding member of Taj Toastmasters Club. He has taken up various leadership roles as a Toastmaster, be it area governor, division governor, and he is also credited with bringing the first ever world champion for a speech during the Division A conference in 2006-2007 program year. Professionally, he's a certified professional accountant from US CPA, and he currently works for SAMSA as a SAP manager. Without further ado, let us welcome distinguished Toastmaster SR Sridhar to deliver his level 5 project 2. Timer, please note the speech length is 8 to 10 minutes, green at 8, yellow at 9, and red at 10 minutes. DTM Sridhar, the stage is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes, loud and clear. You are also visible. We will be spotlighting the timer for you, sir.
Okay. Leadership is really tested during a crisis. My dad used to say, breakthroughs only happen during uncomfortable zones. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, good evening to you all. 2.5 decades ago, there was a tennis tournament, and I was the vice captain of the team, and we were going to play the top seeds, doubles, and 2 hours before the match, to begin at 6 o'clock, at 3:45, my partner, Art Kovalida, comes and tells me, Sridhar, I cannot play today. I don't know what happened. We cajoled him, we encouraged him, we did everything. But yet he said, no, I cannot play. No, I cannot play. I have some other commitment. So my captain, Art, said, what can we do, Sridhar? Toto, he said, what can we do? should we give a walkover? I said, no, why to give a walkover? We can play. What's wrong? We don't have any players. I told him, we can take Lando. What's the problem? Oh, he does not know to play. He does not know to play. I said, no, why do we give up? We will try. Then, and I had immediately, I remembered Abraham Lincoln, when he was almost losing the war in 1865, he took the great decision of bringing up General Ulysses Grant, who was not so good a leader, not so good a person. But then he encouraged him. He said, we have to win the war. You have a lot of good qualities. Come. And all the people said, he is a drunkard. He cannot play. What is it? He will not help you all. But he said, so what? You find out which brand of whiskey he takes. I have to give it to you all. He's an honest guy and he can win the war. Mind you, he won the war. Similarly, that thing happened to me. I said, so we can do it. I will encourage. For 1 hour, I was with Lando Pinulan. I told him, Lando, we can play. No. Then he told me, I feel very uncomfortable. People laugh at me. I don't know to play. I said, no, we are playing doubles. You just have to go and block in the net, nothing else. I will manage all the court. He said, no, people laugh. What? I don't know. You're an A-class player. I'm a C-class player. I just learned to play. I said, so what? You don't have to do anything. You have to just block. I'm not going to laugh at you. Don't worry. But I cajoled him, and then he came to the court, and there was a huge crowd. And the top seats, we are going to play the top. I said, so what? Maximum, what is going to happen? We are going to lose. So he said, yeah, but people will laugh. No, I said, no, so what? Nothing happens. Come, play. No problem. Even if you make mistakes, no problem for me. You just block. Your duty is only block. All the court I'm managing. I also convinced my captain. He said, no, we will play. We'll not give it up. Mind you, that energized Lando so much. He started first blocking. Correctly, you start blocking. I used to praise him from the back. I said, well done, Lando, well done. And then his confidence grew, leaped and bounded. Then what happened? That guy was so energized that he started placing the ball. He started just placing it where it was going to the net. And then luckily, the balls were hitting the right areas. And those people were confused. And in between, he used to even hit in the front, between the net. And we, little by little, it was a tough fight. He lost. They used to break his service, but I used to win my service. And finally, I broke their service, and we won the first set. The whole crowd were ecstatic. They were in ecstasy. They were wondering what's happening. This guy, when we were changed the court, when he started the second set, he was so energized. I said, don't worry. Even if you make mistakes, even if we lose, what's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. Luckily, we won. But then he was so confident, grew so much that he started serving well, and that too the corner of the court. Little by little, we won the match, and the whole crowd became so crazy. They went and lifted him. They said, "You're just fooling us. You said you don't know to play, and you played." That was the thing happened. That's what happened that day. The whole crowd went into really crazy. Finally, it was a great match, a great lesson I had in leadership. When we encourage, get the best out of the people, we need to encourage the people. And all breakthroughs happen in uncomfortable zones. And when we came to formation of the district a few years back, I was in the Kohinoor Club. So we had attended the first meeting in Bahrain, district council meeting. I was one of the persons carrying the proxies, but I attended the district ExCom meeting. There we decided in May 2000 that we are forming, every club will form one more club. And we were only 22 clubs, the whole of the Middle East. And we shall sustain that club in such a way that we shall form District 79. Although they were totally skeptic, the international, they were sending emissaries to find out how 7 countries, one district can be formed. When we formed the Taj Club, then we decided to form the Taj Club in September 5, 2001, just before the September 11 incident happened. Within 5 months, within 4 months, when we formed, our excom, half of our excom emigrated. The president went to Canada, the VP education went to New Zealand, and our VP membership who is here went to USA. And our VP PR became very inactive. We had only we had 7 to 8 members left. At that time, one of our members told me, what is this? Why we want to form a new club? What's this? We are one good people in the Kohinoor club. We are enjoying company. We are all a company. Why? What's the reason? I told him, we have given a word. Toastmasters quality is integrity. That we are forming another club so that it helps us to form a district. We have to meet the numbers, but yet we will also meet the quality. He says, "Oh, why you're so emotional? Why are you so emotional? What happens? We're comfortable, nothing. We will tell them we couldn't form. What's the problem?" I said, "No, we have already decided." I told him all breakthroughs happen in uncomfortable zones. So he was not convinced, but yet he came with us. He was not convinced, but then we enrolled people from outside. I looked for leaders. We had one of the biggest youth leadership programs conducted in Seva School for all the children. We scouted for parents as members. Yet that didn't really fulfill us. So what we decided, all the excom members, remaining excom members, I enrolled two, Mr. Pravat Kapoor, then Mr. Shankar Reddy from Riyadh Club. They were interested to help me. They were interested. So they said, I had told them we have to do these things. Come out, come what may. They were district leaders also. So we used to meet every week in a restaurant. Now it was called the Valat restaurant. It was before there was something else, Impala restaurant. We used to meet every week. We used to scout our strategy, how to build the clubs. Then one thing was to bring quality to the club. So Kapoor used to carry his own TV and with the VCR to the club every meeting. And we'll have an educational session of world champions and all. He had recorded all the world championship speeches and other that we used to give educational sessions. So that became more interesting. The people are interested to come to the club. And our membership grew. Little by little, our membership grew to more than 25, 30. And then we also achieved the present district. But before that, we had mentored all our speakers to go to the district. Two of our speakers, Maithili Srinivasan and Anthea Mendonza, went to the district. Anthea Mendonza, I had to manage her because her husband was down with heart attack, but yet she managed. We inspired her to compete. We went to the district. So, fellow Toastmasters, this was my experience that all breakthroughs happen in uncomfortable zones. If we really stick to what the Toastmasters quality of Toastmasters credo, integrity, respect, integrity. I only give importance to integrity. When we have that integrity, world is yours. As Jim Rohn said, it's not the blowing of the wind that determines the future. It's the set of your sails that determines the future. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Sridhar, for that really encouraging and uplifting speech. We all face our uncomfortable zones, but we always are shying away from those. It's never too late. Let's expedite, move forward, and conquer those uncomfortable zones. Thank you very much, DTM Sridhar, for that wonderful message. So before we move on to the next speaker, I would like to know if Toastmaster Hassan is back. Toastmaster Hassan, Toastmaster Muhammad Shakir. Toastmaster Muhammad Shakir, are you there? Yes, fine. Okay, fine. So now let us start off with the evaluation of the speeches that have been done in the second session. But before that, we have one evaluation pending from the first session. That will be the evaluation of Toastmaster Muhammad Shakir's speech by our energetic facilitator for first session and a very enthusiastic Toastmaster Hassan. Toastmaster Hassan, the stage is yours for delivering the evaluation of Toastmaster Shakir.
Thank you, Mr. Facilitator. And once again, good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and a special good evening to my speaker. Toastmaster Muhammad Shakir, what a wonderfully crafted speech you delivered today. I was in short of time. I could not introduce you while calling on the stage, but you let us know all about yourself, about your life, your family, your wife, your children, and the stages of the life from where you come from. You had a very good start with the quote that we all make choices, but the choices that makes us matters. What a wonderful experience you shared with us, that we all used to wish for ourselves the benefits of being younger in the family. I'm not experienced of that. I'm the eldest one in my family, but I could still feel what the youngers do have the privileges in their family. You drive us into your story that was really inspirational, how you left your home and with no money in the pocket or very limited money in the pocket, and there after reaching a certain stage, you realize your mistake, and as our theme says today, it's never too late. You realize that and you went back to the home where you see your father in a distress mode, and he didn't get angered on you, he didn't argue anything with you. Instead, he come forward and he hugged with you with love and affection. I can understand that moment, what it feels when the two aparted people get together after a certain moment. I could really understand that feeling. You end up with a very nice call of action, and in between your speeches, you given so many messages to us that we shall not get afraid or we shall not get ashamed of our mistake, but rather we shall understand our mistake and take the lessons from it and move forward. Toastmaster Muhammad Shakir, indeed, your speech was well crafted from the opening, body, and conclusion. It was well delivered. But as a colleague of you, I would like to see further improvement in your speeches if you incorporate some of the tips that you were having the scope of utilization of the stage. You almost deliver your speech standing in one position mostly. So I would request you in the next speech, when you deliver, try to utilize the stage fully, as well as try to use some voice modulation while you are conversing with your parents or with anybody when you are explaining about it. So it would make your speech greater. Overall, the speech was very good. You were very confident. Your eye contact perfect. It was well crafted. With this two mode of voice modulation and the stage movement, you could be a great speaker. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Hassan, for this encouraging evaluation for the icebreaker speech of Toastmaster Muhammad Shakir. I believe Toastmaster Shakir would have taken away a lot of messages from your great evaluation. So we will now resume back with our Speakathon session 2. Before that, let me check with our third speaker of session 2, Toastmaster Manaz. If you are ready, you could proceed with your speech, or we could go in for one more evaluation before you start. Toastmaster Manaz? This word
Yes, I'm ready. Yeah.
Great. So the third speaker for the second session, or the seventh speaker of today's Speakathon, would be evaluated by yet another great speaker and evaluator, distinguished Toastmaster Gururajan. DTM Gururajan, would appreciate if you could please read out the speech objectives for Toastmaster Manaz's speech.
Thank you, facilitator, and good evening to all of you once again. The purpose of the speech is for the member to practice the skills needed to connect with an unfamiliar audience. It is level 5, project number 2. I'm a bit excited because the title of the speech is First Night. So the speech timing is 5 to 7 minutes. Good luck to the speaker and over to the facilitator.
Thank you very much, DTM Gururajan. And for the kind information, once again, please excuse me for the mistake in the agenda. The speech first night is not level 5 P2, but it is level 3 P2. Level 3 project 2 from the motivational strategies path. And to deliver the speech, we have our energetic Vice President Public Relations of Taj Toastmasters Club, Toastmaster Manaz Al-Bukhari. Toastmaster Manaz, the stage is yours. Timer, please note, it is 5 to 7 minutes.
I don't know, maybe listening to my speech title, my father also joined in soon after the Taraweeh prayer. I was searching for a topic about how I can deal with an unfamiliar topic to enlighten our audience. I looked a lot about unfamiliar topics, and then I understand that nobody spoke about their first night in Taj Toastmasters. I love to be the first person always, and today I take up the honors of being the first person to talk about the first night. Finally, one day, I too got married. Like everybody, I also have dreamed about a first night, and there it was in my doorsteps. The speciality of our area is that the first night happens in the bride's house. And my entire dream about a first night was the bed full decorated with a lot of flowers, and I standing there near the window in this position, and the bride coming in with a glass of milk. That was my dream about a first night. But what happened there was a lot of relatives, fully crowded with a lot of grandmothers, grandfathers, talking, chit-chatting, just right in front of the bedroom. And I was looking eagerly at the bedroom, and all these people were surrounded next to it. Finally, as lifesaver, my father-in-law came in and said, "Manaz, why don't you go inside your room?" I said, "Thank you." And I stepped in. As soon as I stepped in, I don't know from where, a dozen children of age group 5 to 6 came running onto my bed and started sitting me, touching me here and there, asking me, how are you? What is your name? I said, fantastic. It is very good. I enjoyed. I waited for that moment where my wife would step in and throw all of them out. And there she came. And then she sat there. I thought she would be very uncomfortable. But believe me, Toastmasters, I was the most uncomfortable person. I was sweating. After seeing there, I was understanding that a lot of people were arranging bed in front of the bedroom. So as soon as I opened next day morning, I could see all the people lying there. So this sheer thought of seeing and meeting all the people after the first night took my entire mood off. And I was literally nervous on how I will face them the next day morning. I have heard, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So my entire first night was planning on how I will get out of that room the next day morning. And I took my partner also to plan on how we will get out of that room. And we made a good plan. I usually get up very late, but that day I thought of waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And as soon as the alarm bell rang, I got up early in the morning. I went for the nearest masjid out. Everybody was sleeping. I went there. I prayed a lot, and I came back very late. Seeing me coming from the prayer, everybody's impression on me changed. See how amazing a person is. I'm so sorry that I disconnected or I edited a lot of portions which happened in the room, because that is not allowed in Toastmasters. You know, we are not supposed to talk a lot about what's happening inside the room in Toastmastering. So I deleted that off. So I told how uncomfortable was I on that first night. Second day, I was aiming that I would recover for all these things, and I came back to my home sweet home, where my father organized a flower bed, because I said there was no flower bed in my wife's house. So my father organized, decorated a heart shape out of flower in my bed, and he decorated the bed. So I was sitting on the bed like a prince, and I suddenly got a thought that how, if I was so uncomfortable yesterday, how my wife would be so much uncomfortable in a new house. She being a lady, she would be very much uncomfortable. This sheer thought made me ask a question to her. But later I understood that she was so comfortable. She didn't have any kind of irritation in coming into my room, gelling along with my parents, going to the bathroom, new bathroom, nothing. She was so well prepared. So I asked this question, why are you not feeling uncomfortable? She said one thing which changed my perception. She said, I was trained for this. From the childhood, I was told that this is not your house, you will go to another house. She was trained. Recently, I heard something called CQ. Have anybody heard about CQ? Have you heard about IQ? What is IQ? Yeah, intelligence quotient.
Intelligent questions.
Great. What is EQ? Emotional quotient. Absolutely. So CQ is change quotient. As leaders, how well you adapt to the change is a very important factor. And we all have undergone a lot of changes. I evaluate my managers on this, on the perception, how they adapt to the changes. If they adapt well to a new transfer, I say he's a very good manager. That is how I evaluate people. My wife was a very good wife because she was able to adapt to the change of coming into a new house. But I am a very bad manager because I was not able to adapt, because I was not planned. I was not trained. So there is only one method of adapting to the change. That is to plan. Plan for your change. Even if a change is sudden, change is unavoidable. You have to work towards a plan whenever a change happens. And that makes us great leaders. Back to Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Manas, for lightening and livening up our spirits. What a great speech. I'm not supposed to evaluate more than this because there is another person who's going to do those honors. Without further ado, let's move on to the last speaker for today's Speakathon. He will be the 8th speaker and the 8th speaker of the Speakathon and the 4th speaker of today's second session. Let me remove all my spotlights. Okay, before we move on to call this speaker, this energetic gentleman, to deliver his speech, let me call on his evaluator, Toastmaster Dr. Manas. Toastmaster Manas, have you taken your breath after the first night to read out the objectives?
Sorry, the purpose of the project is for the member to reflect on his growth during the completion of an entire path. That is the purpose of the project. And the purpose of this speech in particular is for the member to share some aspect of his growth during the completion of the path. So today we are going to witness a great learning session. Back to the facilitator of the day.
Thank you very much. A point of order, Toastmaster Manas, you are brilliantly dressed, but your blazer collar is out. Okay, So let me now move on to introduce our last speaker for today's session. As I mentioned to you, he is an energetic Toastmaster, and the hallmark of his experience or journey in Toastmasters is like completing a path within a very short span of time, rather just within 6 months. I remember him joining us probably in September 2020. That was just the first quarter of this program year, and now we are here at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and we see him delivering his path completion speech, which is from the dynamic leadership path. And this gentleman is none other than our facilitator for the first session, Toastmaster Hassan Hussain. Toastmaster Hassan, the stage is yours to deliver your path completion speech. Timer, please note, the timing criteria for this speech is 10 to 12 minutes, green at 10, yellow at 11, and red at 12 minutes. Toastmaster Hassan, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Toastmaster Dr. Sundar. If your action inspires someone to learn more, to dream more, and to become more, you are a leader. Fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, a warm good evening to all of you. My journey in the Toastmaster, what I learned here. One day in office, I was just sitting. Usually, I got a call from a Dharmic leader, our Area 6 Director, Toastmaster Sani. Hello, Mr. Hassan. Do you have 2 minutes to speak? Yes, Mr. Sani. Tell me. We have one meeting tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Can you please join? Yes, Mr. Sani, I will try. Oh, no, don't try. You must join. I agreed to that. This is how I was brought to the Toastmaster meeting. I joined my first meeting in Taj Club in September, as said by Mr. Facilitator. I was unsure what Toastmaster is. I even don't know the T of Toastmaster. I thought maybe it is a club where I could see the masters of toasting. I was expecting maybe I will go and enjoy something there, but it was totally different. When I joined the first meeting, I see the great leaders here sitting well dressed, very formal and very enthusiastic. Great leaders, great speakers. That inspires me a lot. Next day morning, Mr. Sani, he again asked me, what's your thought about last meeting? I said, Toastmaster Sani, can you please help me how to join this club? He told me, just wait, I will pass your number to our VP membership. And after 5 minutes, I got a call again. Hello, is this Mr. Hassan? I'm Toastmaster Jijo speaking. Yes, Toastmaster Jijo. I'm the VP membership of Taj Toastmasters Club. I would like to introduce you to the club. Are you willing to join? Yes, please. Go ahead. And I came into the Toastmasters. Again, after joining the Toastmaster, I was unaware. I was not knowing what to do, what activities I have to do, what are the pathways, how the leadership pathways programs are. But one thing that helped me here, the leaders around me in this club, everyone, each and everyone who helped me to and guide me in this journey. Toastmaster Sundar, Dr. Mahesh, Manas, Toastmaster Nandu, many of them. I cannot name all of them. I have learned a lot from each and every single one of you. And when I took my pathway, the dynamic leadership, I chose it intentionally, purposely, because the intention of mine to join the Toastmaster was to develop and explore my leadership skill. So I thought this will be the better choice to choose this pathways. Somehow I chose it and I start delivering my speech. It took 3 weeks to come forward to deliver my icebreaker speech. I was very hesitant. Toastmaster, my mentor actually, I should say, he was energetic mentor. He pushed me, Hassan, come forward, do something. Don't just come and watch the meeting and go. Just come and took some role. You should deliver your icebreaker. I prepared my icebreaker. I delivered it. It was appraised more than it could be. More than enough, I would say. It was not up to that mark, of course, it was my first speech, but I was overwhelmed with the feedback of our generous Toastmaster here who encourage us, and that gives us the enthusiasm to move forward. After that, I continue to do my project one after one. That gives me a great lesson during my Toastmaster whole journey, during my project. I learned a lot, many things I could mention here today. I would like to mention a few of them. During my exploring of the pathways of dynamic leadership, I learned as a leader, the first thing, how to communicate. How should I communicate with my colleagues, with my subordinate, or with my bosses? It is not possible to communicate in same tone and same way with all the 3 different role players in your life. Be it in your job, your work, wherever you are, you need to observe different styles of communication. This is what Toastmaster taught me during my pathways. It also taught me how to lead in different situations, how to manage the changes. If you don't adapt to the change, as it is said that if you don't adapt to the change, you will remain obsolete with the changes that happen in the system. So you have to be competing with the pace. You need to adapt yourself with the pace of change. There is nothing constant but the change. So if you need to be relevant, you have to be adaptable to the change. This is what I learned second from this Toastmaster journey. Also, I learned one more thing, the other aspect from the different leaders here, that we shall not hesitate to take up any role. Come forward, take any challenges, and go ahead with it. Don't afraid to take any role. And surely, we are not all perfect here. We learn by doing what we say in Toastmasters. So this is what I learned from here, that I never hesitate to take up any role that comes in my way. And this really helped me to sharpen my leadership skills and sharpen my own abilities. One more thing I learned from Toastmaster is, as we see in the club, we have many dynamic leaders, very fantastic speakers. Our VP Education, he's the area champion. Many humorous speakers, champion humorous speaker, Toastmaster Maya. Many leaders we saw, they are at the best. One more thing, Toastmaster, what it taught me, that don't compete with anyone. Compete with yourself. You should run your own race. You should stay in your own lane. No one is perfect in this world. Compete with yourself. Do the better of yourself. That will show what you can deliver rather than competing with others. Everyone has different skills, different talents, God given different abilities. So we shall not look after others and compete with them, rather compete with yourself. This is what Toastmaster taught me during my journey of exploring my leadership skill. One more thing I learned here is no one is perfect. We all do mistakes in our life. The courageous is the one who accepts his mistake. If you do mistakes, don't be afraid of. Don't get ashamed. No one is going to kill you. Accept it and then work on it, how to fix that mistake, learn lesson from it, and avoid doing it. We are all human. We can do mistakes. There's nothing surprising. If we do mistakes, we are following the human nature. But what we say is, if we repeat the mistake, in my words, I used to say to my team that doing mistake is not a problem. The repeating of mistake is a crime. So whenever you do mistake, don't get ashamed of it. Embrace your failure, learn from the mistake, and avoid repeating it. You will grow further. What we say that if you face any problem, don't get away, but face it and raise. Don't get fear of it. This is what a Toastmaster taught me in exploring my dynamic leadership journey. One more thing I learned here is no one is perfect. We all learn here together. As a leader, it is not one-man show. It is never one-man show. You cannot be perfect or the champion just playing a sole role in any organization. You have to play around the team. You have to be a team leader. So, as a leader, you shall never hesitate to ask for the help with your team members. I used to face many situations in my work life where I might not have idea how to overcome it. I used to call my colleagues, I get conversation with them, I get their ideas, and that helped me to overcome that particular situation or that particular problem. So I am very willing to listen from others. This is also what I learned from Toastmaster that really helped me a lot, that you should never get ashamed of asking for the things. If you are not having any idea, ask for it. Very simple. And same moment, as a team player, as a leader, never hesitate to ask for help. Ask the team member for any help. With this, you can be a great leader. A leader plays in a team spirit. What team is? Together everyone achieves more. So dear fellow Toastmasters, I urge you to run your own race, stay in your own lane, embrace your failure, and learn from the mistakes. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Hassan, for sharing your entire experience of completing your first path. Congratulations. Let me be the first one to do that on you successfully completing your first dynamic leadership path. Fellow Toastmasters and my dear friends, with this, we come to the end of all the speeches of today's Speakathon. We had 8 speeches. We just have 4 more evaluations, the hallmark of our Toastmasters meeting. So with this, we will have a new timer. Toastmaster Dr. Arnachalam, thank you very much for your help in timing this session and a part of the previous session. The evaluation session of session 2, that is the remaining 4 evaluations, will be done by Toastmaster Jabir Ali. Toastmaster Jabir Ali, you are ready? You could rename yourself as the timer.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Great. Fine. Okay. So as I mentioned to you, let us now move on to the hallmark of the Toastmasters meeting session. That will be our evaluations. To evaluate the first speaker of the second session, which was, the speech was delivered by Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh Pillai, you have yours truly to do the honors. So let me now pin myself or spotlight myself on the timer, and on my word go, you can start, Mr. Timer.
Sundar, one small help.
Yes.
This virtual background is not working for me. So
Okay.
how can I get help from you?
Okay, fine. Because I believe we are running short of time. If it is okay, I can ask the previous timer to do it. Yeah, you can actually activate. You can just go to the video settings, and there is an option for virtual background.
I tried actually.
Maybe you need to update your Zoom in that case.
Okay. So that is the reason.
Or if it is actually a corporate or a version, then it may not be enabled in that one.
No, it is not the corporate one. Anyhow, it's
if you have,
Arnachalam can show the screen, and I will note down the time actually.
Yeah, fine, no problem. Thank you.
I will follow.
Okay, so you can also note down the time on the background. Yeah. So for the benefit of the speakers, I will pin Dr. Arnachalam as the timer. Fellow Toastmasters and all my dear friends, good evening once again. We had yet another educational session in the speech that I'm going to evaluate to you now. I was evaluating to you an earlier speech which was talking to us about the communication abilities. But what is the purpose of communication? It is all about negotiating a favorable outcome. So how to do that? How to be successful in that? Thanks to the Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh Pillai for sharing us all of these aspects in his wonderful speech. Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh Pillai started off with a great quote. Negotiation is not a policy, but a technique. What a great way to negotiate into the minds of all of his audience. And then he went on to say how experienced he is. This is actually the hallmark of his speech when he says that I am confident in delivering my speech today because I know what I am speaking. Thank you very much for proving that confidence statement at the beginning. And then he went on to tell the different aspects of how negotiations could happen. This was one of the hallmark of his speech. This is about knowing us, letting us know about the competitive, accommodative, compromising, collaborative, the win-win, win-lose, all of those kinds of educational attributes of how to negotiate an outcome. Yet another thing that was actually interesting in the way he educated us about negotiating was how to use I statements with humility. We all know that I statement is a measure of overconfidence, but he proved to us, showed us, in fact, with an example of how an I statement could be dealt with humility to your advantage, and also how appreciations can help you take in a great way. So this was overall the speech. It was well structured, starting with an opening quotation and then going on to the educational aspects of how to train us all, what negotiations are, sparkling in between with those beautiful examples, and then concluding with a call for action saying that it is up to us to negotiate the best outcome by learning what we are strong at. The best parts of Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh's speech was his confidence. As I mentioned to you, he did not do a power pose, but he did a powerful gesture by saying that I know what I'm speaking. That brought in the confidence, the clarity, and the message, the strength of the message that we all take up with credibility. And then the second thing is, like, he used great examples. Like, he was also using an example of Toastmasters to connect to us, like how table topics helps him in negotiating with clients. And then lastly, he was telling us how these different examples can be used to our advantage. So these are the great aspects of a speech. And if you look at the purpose of this project, it has clearly been fulfilled because the speaker, Dr. Mahesh, clearly knows and clearly conveyed to us all what negotiation is all about, with also his experience. But any great speech can also be taken to the next level. To negotiate it to the greater level, Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh, I would appreciate if you could add a little bit of storytelling into it. A great way could have been to have one story, like one challenge which you faced in terms of negotiating with a client or with a trainee or somebody else in your life. You start off how the challenge was thrown at you in terms of negotiation. And then you go on to mold the different parts of your speech about educating about negotiation. And then finally, you tell us how you succeeded in negotiating the favorable outcome. Overall, it was a great speech that negotiated the thoughts and words of yours into our minds. With these small appreciative effect, like adding a story that begins and ends with the power of negotiation, I'm sure it's going to be a great speech that can be taken to the next level. Back to you, Mr. Facilitator. Thank you very much. So for the next speech, which was delivered by distinguished Toastmaster Sridhar, we have yet another great evaluator, that is none other than our president, Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh Pillai. Dr. Mahesh, the stage is yours to deliver the evaluation of DTM Sridhar's speech.
Once again, good evening, dear leaders, and especially good evening to my speaker, DTM Sridhar. It was not a speech, it was a real sharing of experience. We all know that such a lengthy session of 8 speeches, people will lose interest after a few speeches. But Toastmaster DTM Sridhar's speech, from beginning to end, I'm sure that everybody was glued to your speech because you were just telling a story. Initially, you started with the tennis match and how you motivated your partner to win the match. And I was eagerly waiting what happened at the end. And same like other people, I was watching other people, majority of the people's cameras were on. And everybody loves stories. And that's a very great way of gluing your audience to your speech. And you talk about Abraham Lincoln, how he motivated a general whom other people feel that he's not competent, and how he made people competent. And the other thing I like is he used the props, the tennis racket. So it's not just he's speaking, he's really taking us to that situation. And we all feel that we were in that stadium, watching him motivating his partner and playing and seeing him, or we also felt that we also saw him winning that game. Then he said, all breakthrough happens at uncomfortable zones. He always used that, and that gives a strong message to all Toastmasters that you need to work hard and you can get a breakthrough in your uncomfortable zones. Then he came to share another story or another information on how Taj Toastmasters was created and how the Toastmasters clubs were created and how the formation of District 79. Now, we all came to know about the history of District 79 and Taj Toastmasters. That's the beauty of DTM Sridhar. He don't have to refer anything. He's an encyclopedia of Toastmasters. If we ask him now, who is the president from 2001 to 2021, he'll give the names in the chronological order. And that's how he is having deep knowledge in Toastmasters and how he struggled when half of the ExCom immigrated. And what a great speechcraft DTM Sridhar, a great opening, and he continued the story, glued the audience. You always created that interest among the audience, and you ended the speech with a great call for action. When the only thing I will suggest, DTM Sridhar, is like your camera adjustment. We are able to see from your chest and above. You are a great speaker. We have to learn a lot of things from you. If you adjust your camera a little bit, so we can see your body movements, your gestures, and completely, so that it will be a great learning experience for other Toastmasters, the new Toastmasters. Overall, it was a great speech, and this is how a speaker can generate interest, even if the people feel a bit lazy or something. But from the beginning till the end, you glued all of us to your speech. And with this camera adjustment, DTM Sridhar, you're already a great speaker, but you will still go to the next level. Back to you, Mr. Facilitator.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahesh, for that uplifting evaluation of DTM Sridhar's speech. To evaluate the third speech of the second session, which was the first night, we have a very apt person, I would say. Okay, he is the person who actually is fit enough to actually evaluate this speech. He is a past president, a distinguished Toastmaster. He's been a long-time member of Taj Toastmasters Club, a mentor for many of us here in Taj. And he's also a club coach of Mobili Never Surrender Club. Professionally, he works for Saudi Electricity Company, and he hails from Tamil Nadu. But the most important thing, why I said he is the apt person to evaluate this speech. You might be wondering why this guy should evaluate if he's a past president or working as an engineer, but he is a humorous champion. For several times, and even this year, he represented on behalf of Area 6 in the Division B Humorous Speech Contest. Please put your hands together to welcome DTM Guru Rajan to evaluate the first night of Toastmaster Manas.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you very much for the nice words spoken, facilitator, Toastmaster Sundar. This is the first speech in my life where the speaker can gain the attention of the audience by the title of the speech itself. Actually, I was sitting at the edge of the table just to see how he is going to handle the subject. It is a humorous speech with a very good message, and that it requires a lot of technique to handle this subject, but humorously. I really liked the whole thing. When he started, how he selected the topic. It is a familiar topic, but it's not familiar to talk in the Toastmaster forum because it's difficult to handle the subject. And then finally, he ended the whole speech with a message. We were all thinking of some big humor, but he said you have to plan it. Because he planned it even the first night. How to plan it, where most of the people wouldn't have the brain at the time. He took the speech very nicely and then describing the whole thing with a descriptive one. And he asked the questions to the audience also, like EQ, emotional quotient. So how we have to adopt a change and plan to make a change. It's really a very nice way of handling the humorous one. And we all enjoyed the speech. Though the speech came very late, but really, as a person, as a Toastmaster, I really enjoyed it. Really, you've done the best job today, Toastmaster Manas. You've really done a great work today as a Toastmaster. Coming to the subject, like you can only sharpen your skills a little bit so that to take the speech to the next level. You were, I think, you also got excited, it seems, because you were having the hands like this, hands clasping. I never saw you like that. So maybe you could have avoided this because the topic is such that you can, it's understandable. Next one is, you could have added some conversation within the framework of Toastmasters rules, so that it would have added a lot of interest to the audience. You could have, I saw your body movements front and back. You could have made it side movements, like opening the door and coming. I opened the door and went outside, something like that. So to make a more movement, so that it will be really made it still more interesting. What I find is your speech was very good, entertaining, but it was a bit monotonous. It didn't have any impact. We all had a very good entertainment with your speech, but if you made pauses and then a bit of vocal variety, so it will add a lot more humor in the whole speech. So it's a very nice speech, very humorous speech, entertaining speech. Only thing is you ought to have the bit of conversation, body movements, and pauses and vocal variety. And with that, really, you will become a champion in the humorous speech. Over to the facilitator.
Thank you very much, DTM Guru Rajan, for that great evaluation. I'm sure it was a wonderful speech. As I told you, this is why you are the apt person to have given the evaluation for Toastmaster Manas, because you are able to find the nitty-gritty and get the best out of it for Toastmaster Manas to make it probably a winning humorous speech sometime in the future. For the final speaker, that was Toastmaster Hassan Hussain, we had yet another enthusiastic evaluator. It is none other than our Vice President Public Relationship and the man with a new hairdo today. Toastmaster Manaz, I invite you on the stage to deliver the evaluation for Toastmaster Hassan's path completion speech. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Dr. Sundar. Let me be the second person to congratulate Toastmaster Hassan Hussain for completing his pathways after Dr. Sundar. So many congratulations, a round of applause for our Toastmaster Hassan Hussain for completing his path. Amazing it was. What makes Toastmastering fun is great leaders like you, Toastmaster Hassan Hussain. Soon after your first level, we Toastmasters were discussing the energy level you carried, the passion you had for Toastmasters. One thing which stood out in you is your ace attitude. I always believe in the principle of no story when there is result. You never gave a chance for any stories where always you had results. And that result was very much evident in your speech tonight. You phrased out all the learnings which you had taken and all the learnings which you have gathered throughout your journey of a path completion and portrayed it in a correct time frame and scripted it out in a beautiful speech with a lot of learnings for others. I have requested you personally for a script of yours so that we can role model it out for other new Toastmasters who will complete the speeches in the near future, where they can take it as a reference. So it was such a fantastic speech, well crafted, well designed, and well spoken. When we hear a path completion speech, we have a lot of expectations. And let me tell you, you met all the expectations. You had a great background with a very beautiful light lit on the background. It was like a cinematic effect. It was adding a cinematic effect to your entire screen. It was very cool watching you speaking. The way you utilized the hands and gestures, it was amazing. You had started off your speech between how you got into Toastmastering by telling about the Sunny and how he called you. With so much of tenure in Toastmastering, you could have definitely added a voice modulation, mimicked a sound of how Toastmaster Sunny would have spoken to you. And immediately Jijo calling you, you could have framed out a cinematic situation there, wherein the entire sequence would have been framed up in a better manner, which would have added humor to the entire path completion speech, which would make it totally unique. Another suggestion is you would have definitely had some negatives or the competencies which you would have gained after completing your pathways could have been added, which some negatives which change into positives could have added in your path completion speech, which would have been a cherry on the icing. With that, I wish you all success and looking forward to your second path completion very soon. Back to the facilitator of the.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Manaz, for that great evaluation of Toastmaster Hassan's speech. Fellow Toastmasters, my dear friends, we have all come to the end of today's great Speakathon session. We had 8 great speeches, 8 great evaluations. I believe we all are leaving tonight with volumes of knowledge in terms of how we communicate, how to convey our message, how to negotiate the outcome, how to deliver our body language, how to evaluate, how to give constructive feedback, uplifting and encouraging evaluations. Thank you very much for everyone who contributed to this great event. Before we close, I would like to now ask for the timers report, because it is also important that whether we fit into the timing criteria or not. So I was the timer for the first 4 speeches. So the times taken for the first 4 speakers were Toastmaster Jabir Ali, he took 6 minutes and 2 seconds. He was qualified. Toastmaster Muhammad Shakir took 5 minutes and 55 seconds. He's qualified. Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam took 6 minutes and 35 seconds. He is also qualified. And distinguished Toastmaster Guru Rajan took 7 minutes and 9 seconds, and he is also qualified. Following me, Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam did the timings for the evaluation session of session 1 and also the speeches of session 2. Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam, could you please provide your timing report?
Would you make a co-host? I will share the report.
Yes, sir. Dr. Mahesh, could we make Dr. Arunachalam as a co-host? Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh.
You're a co-host now.
Okay. Dr. Sundar, can I say that including the last speaker evaluator also?
The last 4 evaluations, Toastmaster Jabir Ali will give the report, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. One second. This is my timer report for Speakathon. So all speakers are qualified. The first Speakathon session 1 and speaker evaluator, Toastmaster Manas Al-Bukhari, he took 3 minutes and 12 seconds qualified. And second evaluator, Dr. T.M. Magesh Pillai, 3 minutes 14 seconds. And the third evaluator, Dr. T.M. Sundar Ramalingam, he took 3 minutes 29 seconds qualified. And the last evaluator, Toastmaster Hazam Hussain, 3 minutes 22 seconds qualified. And second Speakathon session 2, the prepared speaker, Dr. Toastmaster Magesh Pillai, took 7 minutes 22 seconds qualified. And the prepared speaker, TTM Sridhar, 9 minutes 50 seconds qualified. And the third prepared speaker, Toastmaster Manas Al-Bukhari, 7 minutes 16 seconds qualified. And the final speaker, Toastmaster Hassan Gusen, he took 12 minutes and 30 seconds qualified. Back to facilitator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam, for that wonderful report. Now I call upon our timer for the last evaluation session, which was Toastmaster Jabir Ali. Toastmaster Jabir, could you please share the timer's report for the last evaluation session?
Shall I get the share?
Yeah, you will be made a co-host now. Dr. Mahesh, can we make a Toastmaster? Yeah, you can do it now.
Yeah, able to see my screen?
No, not yet.
Okay.
You have to click on share screen and then select the window.
Okay.
Yes, we are seeing the screen now. Yes.
Yes. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. For evaluation, Toastmaster Sundar Ramalingam took 3 minutes 45 seconds, qualified. Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh Pillai took 3 minutes 45 seconds, not qualified. Toastmaster Guru Rajan took 3 minutes 20 seconds, 27 seconds, qualified. Toastmaster Manas Al-Bukhari, 3 minutes 24 seconds, qualified.
Point of order, Toastmaster Jabir Ali, even I am not qualified. 3 minutes 45 seconds is not qualified for me as well.
Oh, sorry, it is actually 3 minutes 23 seconds. Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Jabir Ali. Thank you for the 2 timers who helped us today. Toastmaster Dr. Arunachalam, he accepted to be the timer at the last minute due to the sudden changes And also Toastmaster Jabrali, being his very few first meetings, he was willing to take up the challenge of the timer's role. Thank you very much, and kudos to you both. With that, we officially come to an end of today's Speakathon session. And my humble apologies for the delay in starting the meeting. We started 4 minutes late, and also we are running late because of the number of speeches that we had, and we had a couple of extended sessions. Nevertheless, it was a great session. I'm sure the presiding officer would excuse me for the delay. And I would just like to close the session with just the appreciations for all the certificates. Mr. President, can I just go ahead and show them?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Thank you very much for all your patience in staying with us and enjoying this session. With this, I hand back the meeting control to our presiding officer, Toastmaster Dr. Mahesh. Dr. Mahesh, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sundar. And thank you all the leaders, the facilitators, the timers and role players for conducting such a great session, our Speakathon number 5. Dear Toastmasters, let's give them a big round of applause. And special congratulations to our Vice President Education, Toastmaster Dr. Sundar. As per Toastmaster Manas's speech, he is having a very high change quotient. don't wonder I'm not talking about your speech title. I'm talking about the change caution you mentioned in your speech. And thank you so much. And really appreciate even the last minute changes. We did it very well. And it's a great spirit, and that a team effort and great planning. Thank you, Vice President Education, for that. And congratulations, Toastmaster Hassan, for completing the path in a very quick way. We have some announcement. I think we'll have it in the next meeting for the last quarter winners and all. And thank you all the participants. Dear Toastmasters, we need to complete as much of education awards this year. Now we have only 3 months left. So please contact your Vice President Education, and at least one path we need to complete, minimum one path. Then we can be the #1 club in the world in terms of education awards. So let's fight together. Let's be the #1, not in District 79, but #1 in the world. And your contribution, all our contribution, we can reach that level. Any other announcement? Otherwise, we'll go for the national anthem.
That's it, Toastmaster Dr. Mesh. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And Dr. Sundar, can you play the national anthem?
I request you all to stand up for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
The meeting is officially adjourned. They're like 17 minutes late, but it is acceptable. 8 speeches, and first time in 45 meetings we are this much late, right? But there is a reason. That's fine. Thank you all. And
but we were actually going as per time. If you look at it, I was saying that we will finish our last evaluation at 9:33, and it was on dot.
Okay, that's really
the Excel really, that I was calculating, so that was it. And anyway, so probably we must plan up accordingly. Maybe in future, if we had started at 7:15, we would have made up this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
It's okay. Last minute changes, Ramadan starting. That's really 17 minutes is nothing.
Thank you.
And
thank you very much for all the speakers. Congratulations to the 2 speakers who broke the ice, Toastmaster Jaber and Toastmaster Shakir.
Yeah, congratulations to all the new speakers, the new members. Well, it was really amazing. Toastmaster Jaber Ali and Toastmaster Mohammad Shakir. And it was really great speeches. I felt that it's an icebreaker speech. And thank you, Manas, for adding up some spices to, energize everybody and make the session interesting.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And also DTM Sridhar with the history of Taj and District 79. It was really, great. And thank you, Dr. Sundar, for planning this speech at the end. This generates great interest, and people feel interest. And okay. I'm sure, like those who are not attended, it is a great loss for them.
No, I have the recording for them. So I'm going to tell everyone, like, if you attend the next meeting, you take the recording. Otherwise, you are missing it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Anyway, thank you so much.